Alright, hello, welcome to another episode of Backyard Progression with me, Bron Kenko. So, in last week's video, we went through and spring is really here. uh, Everything is becoming more green. The uh, cherries are starting to get ready to be ripe. Cherries are a full-on summer thing. And the Japanese knotweed is getting out of control. It is hip height here, up to top of my head apparently, because, but I am going downhill, so who knows. Creek still has some water in it, and it's not great. As summer creeps up, we are getting into drought territory. Creek is my number one reference point for how our well and everything is doing. So if the creek is dry, it's likely that our well is dry. Than it should be. Not dry, but you know. Um, so it's been a weird week. Uh, I've had some severe depression post beating Breath of the Wild, or not Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Um, Not entirely related, but it's one of those. It's a weird setup and system where after you play something or you have something that's really good, it just lowers how having something really good can highlight the failings of a lot of other things. And normally, it's not a problem. It's happening currently in Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially Master Duel, the Tier 0 Tier Lament is still going on. They dropped a banned list that did nothing to the deck, not addressed at all. It's atrocious. So in that way, when you have a really good deck or a really good game, every other game just seems a little bit worse after the fact because the quality of life, the uh, ability to get things and do things that you want to do that are fun are everywhere. It's impressive to have that kind of setup and situation. So when you go to an older game, um, you may instantly notice, oh yeah, they didn't realize fast travel was a good thing. Or um, they didn't let you save everywhere. Or, like, so many little things of you might not have unlimited inventory. You might be in situations where you can get yourself stuck. And I really wonder about those as in game design perspective, how much do they think about what if someone sabotages this file and truly just sells everything, buys sells, and gets them down to nothing? Can they get back on their feet? So if it's a good game, the answer is yes. It shouldn't be that hard if things go poorly or you make some bad decisions, end up getting stuff that you didn't realize was worthless or just decoration. Um, in real life, it's a little different. You have to think about quality of life things in similar ways, satisfactory is probably one of the better Sims for reference point here. So like having the tools you need where you need them, being able to uh, utilize the resources, you know, in that point. So that would feel a lot more like quality of life. So having like a little tool shed where you're going to be doing the work, having that right next to it, fantastic idea. People feel like that'll really dramatically improve the ability to do that. Unfortunately, a lot of us lack object permanence in a meaningful way. Not just like if we turn our head, things don't exist behind us or, whatever. But like, especially when depressed, um, you might not think to go back to something that was fun, something you used to enjoy. Um, it's really kind of a way to jumpstart things, or a like surefire way to tell if you are in fact depressed, not just sad. As I saw, someone made the distinction that um, sad is when things in your life are happening. How'd it go? So, depression was like internal, and sadness supposedly was like external. Things around you are happening that you don't have control over, so like it's not your fault that you're sad or something along those lines. It can be your fault that you're sad, but anyway, it made me think about that kind of thing, and just like it feels so flawed even trying to explain it. But depression itself can still be caused, like triggered by external stimuli. It's if things are real bad in your government or your situation, yeah, it sucks. But I feel like depression is that it makes everything worse. Like, food doesn't taste as good, your hobbies don't seem as enjoyable, and it's a lot. Uh, so it's it's so weird that something so prevalent is still so mysterious to so many people. Like, uh, isolation and how to phrase this? Having a person and their interests demeaned or banned in some way. So, like, if you're not being allowed to follow your dream or hobby or participate in your hobby, that can really tear things down for you. So, it's it's weird when you get that high point again, and you have to just try to like improve things so you can have more high points. Take inspiration from those moments and truly try to make things better. It's not like there are a lot of people who have a disorganized lifestyle. They like having things and uh, have a process for like where everything is. It's important to have that interaction or that need to put things away, in my opinion. It's it's good to have that social requirement, the guilt of having a messy house or room, Because when you have a friend come over, or think about that, like, make that call, like, hey, I've got to clean up. I don't want to be judged. That is a social judgment, and if you have been following my channel, you know my belief on judgment. It comes from other people and external sources. It's trained into you as a person, and you can take that back or not. Like, you don't have to feel bad about your sexuality. You don't have to feel bad about your hobby. You don't have to feel bad about liking the people you do or the programs you do. What you do after the fact matters. Like, if you're going to be a jerk to other people or try to gatekeep your hobby, like what was happening to you, then it becomes an issue. But um, in short, be the cringe as long as it doesn't harm others. Like, I don't care how cringy you get, as long as you're not harming anybody, as long as you're not, like, making someone else's life worse, go for it. Enjoy. Do what you can to get little bits of happiness on this depressed little rock, because it's hard out there. I imagine it's hard out there for everybody. Um, Especially when things go wrong. So, yesterday, OBS decided to update, and the update crashed. So, I couldn't stream yesterday because of OBS being weird. It was completely out of my control. I tried several times to see what I could do. Tried some different streaming software, like, couldn't get that to work. Luckily, I was able to, like, do a reinstall, figure it out, get everything managed. So, I'm glad things are working and that I can stream, so I can enjoy the people, the community, the continued effort for my backyard, and anyone who cares to look at my progress. I hope people enjoy what I put out there and the content I create. It's a lot of work for very little return. Been Twitch affiliate for a couple months now, still working on that first paycheck, so that's rough, and I don't know what that $50 is gonna go to. It's wild. I really need to figure something out to be a better situation. Things are hard, and it's hard out there. So as we come full circle and close on the first video, be moving on to the next, but you can see the creek where it is, it's still flowing. Keep that in mind. This week's video, everything a bit greener. You can see that everything is a bit more lush as my shaking hopefully stops soon. Okay, hat on head. Everything is filling out a lot more. You've got the black raspberries starting. The bees have been going nuts. They are loving this. All of the flowering plants. The Japanese knotweed is getting out of control. I really need to do something about it. As you can see, it's very hard to see where we're going. And it is well overhead at this point. and it's a completely worthless vegetation. There's nothing I can do with it. It it's really unfortunate. I really wish there was something, like some kind of use for it. In theory, it's supposed to have a lot of the stuff that's in grapeseed, but I can't access that in any meaningful way, nor do I really need that, I think. I don't know. Resveratrol comes to mind. So keep that in mind. Like, it's there, it's a thing, but what can you do? So I did start to make the allusion to Satisfactory, but I didn't go into further detail. It's still a really interesting game. I'm really excited for whenever they get to the story, because I would love to see what they come up with. It's a fantastic, what's it called? Factory building game. So there's resources around, and you're, uh, getting more resources to do more things and leveling up technology. I really appreciate that game. It's a fantastic uh, world to engage with. The movement is all great. They let you zipline. They have speed tech where you get a faster running speed. They let you have vehicles. They decided that movement should be really good. Also, your, what's it called? The conveyor belts will also give you like a person walker. It'll make you go a little faster. And depending on how tuned up that is, that can be really helpful. How is that helpful to me? Not at all. But boy, would that be quality of life to have little conveyor person walker on a trail. Like, if you wanted to, you could get around real fast, carry stuff out easier. Unfortunately, don't have that kind of quality of life. Even just paving the path a little bit more might be good quality of life to think about. Have to think about using some of the excess stone that we can see. But not yet. I don't know. Like, I don't feel like I'm at that point yet, and I don't feel diverse enough. Okay, real quick here. This is the bud of the onion plants that I was mentioning 2 weeks ago. So those onions are very easy to find in this stage because that bulb is very noticeable. So the thing to do probably at this point would be to stake those points out and really like clear out weeds and whatnot, make it easy for myself to find the onions in the future. Like, and it doesn't have to be anything too extravagant, just noticing where they are, putting some sort of stake of unique shape in. I think that would be really good. I think that would help out a lot, because it's so tricky. If you saw that, so much of it looks kind of just like grass, but you get an onion smell when you walk through it. And I'd rather know what it is. I started growing scallions, so a lot of people don't really realize you can grow a lot of stuff from the supermarket or market in general. Like, as long as they've got a little bit of life left in them, you can keep them growing, and they notoriously leave the root structure on scallions. So I just set up little shot glasses. I'm not using shots anymore. Like, I don't drink like that. Since the diagnosis, at least. So it's nice to have recursive plants and have plants in general in your home. So you can get some air filtration and some fresh oxygen. It's a weird thing. People don't think a lot about cycling out their air because they don't think about their air quality. Um, Pandemic really changed and opened my eyes on that. So the other thing about having everything be so lush, it is incredibly easy to tell when something is dead. A, it'll snap real easy, like that. And B, it doesn't have leaves or anything on its branches. So, a quick snap, and we carry that along. So, let's see. I've acquired quite the pile of sticks. It's important if you're going to have a trail to keep it up, you know. Make sure at least on your paths to make sure they are traversable. So getting stuff like that out of the way leads to new growth too. Like if a plant or tree has dead growth on it, it's still going to be focusing there as well as the rest of the plant. So if you can remove that dead growth, you're making life easier for that plant. So I'm trying to do my best to be good to my forest and to my property in general. I'm gonna drop those sticks off there because it's getting quite cumbersome. So I talk a lot about grapevines and how they can be kind of an issue. Because, like, you'll see them around here and there. But I actually bring one down right here because A, it's in the way, and B, creates issues. So here is the plant. This is the deviation. I could not get it to bend and break properly. So we are just going to pull this whole section down. You can see just how massive that is and adds to tree cover, which can be a problem, can choke out a bunch of different plants, by actively shading them to death. So right now I'm just pulling it along the path to kind of further cement that. But overall, I'm going to come back and cut that and move that out of the way. It's nice to have a purpose. It's nice to have things to look forward to. In my Stardew playthrough, having goals and having quests really drove me to do things. And I feel like they could have done a lot more with that because, like, it can be tricky and it can be a lot to have your player just roam around and be aimless. Like, I mean, big goals are one thing, like, there should be a big goal. Zelda comes to mind, obviously. Like, there is the Ganon, you have to defeat the Ganon, that's in the background. Don't worry about that, for the most part. But at least, like, if you've finished everything else you want to do, you can do that. It's right there. The game is very clear. This is how you end the game. This branch got wrapped up in this grapevine, and keeping dead branches just up and nestled doesn't let them fall to the ground, doesn't let them decompose. It's something I should really think about more in my forestry, taking them out. And that would be a fair goal. Like, it's not going to be permanent, and there's no way I can grab all of it. Some of it does look very nice and isn't destroying its location, but a lot of it can be really detrimental to an area. So, I'm very goal-oriented. I'm very big about giving myself goals and completing them. In games, it gets so weird. So, I love the progression of an open world game. It's so good. Go to an area, do a thing, unlock a piece of map. That gives you a bunch of other little checkpoints to be like, hey, check this out. Look at this. There's intrigue here. Then go, there's always more areas to do. Until there isn't, but it's cute, it's clever, it ticks boxes in your brain, because having an area, like, my brain was ticked when I went into this opposite side of the creek to be like, I don't go over there. I haven't been over there in the 30-something years of my life in this location. That's new and unexplored territory. Let's get into that. Let's see what we can do with that. And some people would say, but you've got this area. This area right here. You haven't finished with that one. True and fair. But in cultivating other areas, you might pick up skills to make the first areas easier, to make them more manageable, to know how to really handle a path or situation. And both are valid. Both are incredibly valid to do the thing to get better at the thing. It's sometimes you just have to remember you're good at things. Like, weird concept, I know. It's hard to be in a situation where, so we've got more buds on this plant. You're always trying new things and going through that starting struggle loop. If you're not good at something, it can be really detrimental mentally. And you don't get good without being bad at something, but you need something to go back to be like, oh yeah, I'm good. I have worth. I can do things. I can be good at things. So it's a balancing act. So I think I'm just gonna do variety streams on Saturdays till I find something that I really wanna get into. Because nothing's really hitting well right now. There's I have some desire to replay the Shadows of series again, especially since uh, Lord of the Rings Gollum looks so bad. Like, I can't believe that they did that with that game. Like, it's unreal. But there is that urge for more Lord of the Rings content, more LARP content. Like, it's so cool to me to do more and show off more. So, as you can see, this creek is not flowing. It has some water, and pooling water is the enemy, as we've talked about. So I take a little bit of extra time here, because most of the time I just finish here, but... So we're going to drag my heel. I've got some boots on, and we're going to make sure the water can go this way. So even if it's just a small sprinkle, you can have flowing water. So getting in there with the stick, kind of clearing out path, getting debris out of the way, so that we can have more flow, better flow. That way, this side of the creek is working. Alright. Thank y'all for another week. I will be back next week with another episode. We get into June. It's important. So time moves ever onward. Thank you for watching. Please like, follow, subscribe. Tell me what you would do with my property, or what quality of life things that you think would be a great help. I know some people like four-wheelers. I'm not a big fan, but